Hello. It has been a long time. I, it feels good to, say hi to you in this format all again. Um, I, a long time ago I made YouTube videos. 2021. Haven't since. A lot of stuff has happened in my own personal life as well as the world around us and the film and entertainment industry in general, it seems. And so after some stuff in my personal life happened, I just stopped making videos. And then I thought, so it's almost so overwhelming. The entertainment industry was changing so drastically, and so much was happening that while there were movies that were coming out that I wanted to talk about, I just didn't feel right. Sorry. I just didn't feel right talking about them. So this is the first time I've done anything like this in a very long time. This video is not going to be very good. But this is me taking that first step into re-entering the world of YouTube, and this is all I've ever wanted to do, is make videos about talking about things that I like. So, you got all my stuff here to keep me company. And so I always thought there would be, when you go through the last 2 years, I haven't felt up to doing this because I haven't felt like me. And I just didn't know how I was going to talk about all the stuff that was going on and how overwhelming the changes in media are. And I was kind of waiting for a project to come and to reinvigorate my passion for talking about things that I like. And a project has done that. And that's why I can finally come back and do this. Again, this video is already not very good, but I'm deciding that I don't care, and I'm just going to ramble here and post this on YouTube because I need something to get my foot in the door. And the last project I think I would have ever thought would be a series. I'm not really a series person. I'm a movie person by nature. I'm also a big comic book fan. But there was a series I was very excited about called X-Men 97. You've probably heard of it. If you're on the internet at all, you've probably heard of it. It's definitely got a lot of people talking about it. And as you can see from the stuff I have, I'm a pretty big nostalgia person. I was born in 1989, so I was a kid of the 90s. So I remember the original X-Men, the animated series. Now, if you're not familiar with what X-Men 97 is, let me go ahead and explain that. Because, you may not everyone knows what it is. It is kind of a niche show. X-Men 97 is a sequel series to the original animated X-Men series from the 1990s. That original series ran from 1992 to 1996 on Fox Kids. The entire run, I believe, was on Fox Kids. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. It was a contemporary with shows like Batman the Animated Series. And Batman the Animated Series is probably my all-time favorite show. And definitely the biggest thing that influenced me as a kid. Being a comic book kid, definitely came from Batman the Animated Series, but probably my next favorite after that was the X-Men series. X-Men the Animated Series was my introduction to Marvel as a whole. I did know who Spider-Man was, and I did know who the Hulk was, but other than that, X-Men was my gateway into Marvel as a larger universe, as well as just the X-Men in general. And that show it's a product of its time. It's a 90s kid show, but it never shied away from the serious themes, because X-Men is one of the most important comic book franchises, in my opinion, because it is a metaphor for bigotry and marginalized communities. That's what X-Men has always been. When Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created it in the 1960s, when Chris Claremont retooled it in the 70s, and then again in the 90s, when he came back in the 90s and retooled it again, X-Men the Animated Series represented that. It adapted many of the most famous stories from the comic book series, including the Dark Phoenix saga, Days of Future Past, And while it was obviously a very kid-friendly show, it didn't shy away from the message, which was that, you know, bigotry sucks. don't don't be mean to marginalized communities, and that what makes you different could make you special. It could make you special. If you're not familiar with what the X-Men series, the franchise as a whole, is about, so the X-Men are a team of mutants. In this universe, you have a group of humanity called mutants. Mutants are individuals who are born with superpowers, latent superpowers that are manifested when they hit puberty. And in this universe, the mutants represent all marginalized communities. I hear a lot of conversations about which marginalized community that they are supposed to represent, and I've heard it from Stan Lee, from Chris Claremont. They represent every marginalized community, and in general, they were meant to represent anyone who felt different or unaccepted. So I was excited for X-Men '97. The series was canceled in '96, and this was supposed to be essentially this new series, X-Men '97, is a 10-episode season. And we have gotten word that they have greenlit 2 more seasons, so we're getting more. And it was written by, the head writer was Bo DeMaio, who primarily was best known for an animated Witcher movie, and he also worked for Star Trek Discovery, I think. Not a huge name, but I think he might be after this. Sorry, I don't have my holder for my. I used to have a holder for my camera, so I got to hold it myself. So sorry, it's kind of all over the place. Anyway, X-Men '97 was a continuation of the original series from the 1990s. And so I was excited for it because I thought it was just going to be a big nostalgia fest. And the first episode definitely is. That's exactly what it is. The animation, they have a bigger animation budget than the original series is, so the animation is crisper and better, and the dialogue is a little bit smarter. But I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's what we're getting. We're getting a nostalgia fest. It's going to do wink winks to the original series. That's a very common kind of product now in Hollywood. One could say too common, maybe way too common. But that's a whole other conversation. But that's all I really needed from it, because it was a show I grew up with, and I love the X-Men. But this is not what this show is. This show is so much deeper than I thought it was going to be, and that's what invigorated me to talk about it. I was really not expecting the levels of depth this show was going to take. The original series didn't shy away from the themes of bigotry, but this one is not intended for kids. Whereas the original one was, X-Men '97 is intended for the exact audience that was watching it back in the '90s, which means people who are my age. Everyone that watched it in '92 to '96 is in their 40s and 30s. So this one is not hampered by the fact that they were making it for kids. This one goes all in. A prominent character is killed in episode 5 in a very gruesome episode. This series, this season of X-Men '97, I'm not going to really break it down because that's not really my style. I'm just going to talk about my overall feelings of it. But I mean, this series, it deals openly with genocide, with violence, with war crimes, with there's a really interesting story with one of the newer characters where they are it's a metaphor for coming out of the closet, like for the LGBTQIA plus community, and it's done very, very well. There is so much going on in this show. And the animation is beautiful, and it is far more violent than the original series was. Now, the thing is, I feel like I should mention, when I say it's mature, I'm not talking about Invincible mature. If you've seen Amazon Prime's Invincible, we're not talking like that. It's still, I'd say, PG, maybe a mild PG-13. There's some mild swears and stuff like that. It's just basically they've been given the permission to make it more for adults because it is. It's for the adults that grew up with it. But it's not like crazy hardcore because I don't think we would want that. It'd be a little weird to watch something that's a sequel to something you grew up with, and then it's like, you know, it'd be weird. Like it's almost like if you were like, oh hey, you know what I really liked growing up was Batman the animated series. They're making a sequel to it, and that sequel was Joker. You know, like those are both great things individually, but they don't make any sense together as being part of the same product. So this does feel like it's in the same world. Part of that is because they brought back as many of the voice actors as they possibly could. Now, so Beast, Rogue, Wolverine, Storm, and that might be it. They're all played by the same voice actors. Nightcrawler is played by the same voice actor. Everyone else that's still alive from the original cast did come back, but a lot of them, because their voices sounded older than they did back in the 90s, go figure, are playing different characters. Jean Grey, for example, Catherine Disher played Jean Grey in the original 90s series, and she's playing a completely different character, Valerie Cooper, in this one. I think one of the character has one of the best moments in the entire series. Another big standout for me is, and I'm blanking on his name, but the voice actor who took over the role of Magneto, the original voice actor who played Magneto has passed away since, a long time ago. So obviously they were going to get a new voice actor. Magneto is great in this show, and this is a Magneto show. So anyway, I don't have much. I went through various ways of how I was going to make this video. If I was going to be this big thing where I go through it, and I might do that. This might not be the last video I make about X-Men '97. It's just I need to get something out, and I don't know that many people who are watching it, so I just want to talk about how much I love it. It made me feel like I had a very strong emotional reaction to the show. It made me love entertainment again. It made me want to talk about it again. It made me want to think about it again. It did everything that I think entertainment like this is supposed to do. It was a great escapist, but it's great escapist entertainment. It is. It's superhero entertainment. But at the same time, it is also tackling very serious issues very sincerely, very head on, and with the same, many of the same voice actors. And I don't know. For a series that's about giving a voice to marginalized communities and making marginalized communities, anyone really who feels that they're not being seen, that they're not being heard, that they're being persecuted for being who they are. That's what the series is all about. That's what it's always been about. And I think it did that in a weird way for me. It made me feel seen in a way that I haven't felt seen. And I don't have any direct, I'm not part of a marginalized community, so I'm not necessarily the person they're talking about, but that's what I think is so deep about it, is that you feel genuinely like when a character dies in this series, it really hurts, So I should say this series was only 10. This is season 1. It was only 10 episodes. They've already been the last episode heavily kind of let comic book fans know where the story is going. Many of these stories I forgot to mention. Like, this video is a mess. I'm sorry. Many of these stories that they featured in this season are adaptations of comic book stories, but none of them are comic book stories I ever expected them to put in a cartoon. So good on them for that. But so we are getting 2 more seasons of this, and this video is not quite what I wanted it to be. So I probably am. I might I might do a video for every individual episode of season 1. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to break down spoiler-filled reviews of every individual episode. This is just an opening video and a, hey, I'm back. So, thanks for watching it. Sorry this video is a mess. Hope I will try to work on them being better. But I honestly feel, I feel whole again in a weird way. I feel like I have something to say again. And it's just nice to feel that way. Thank you.